Palestine and to colonize the land and to form a state. This was the essential part. To form a state just for themselves. Now this was bound, first of all, this was in itself, before any other form of oppression is to be looked at, this in itself is an immediate manifestation of contravention of humanitarian behavior, especially nowadays, of course, the history of the world there's many instances of colonialization, but as time has gone by, this has now been understood to be wrong. Every country has its every indigenous population has its opportunity for self-determination. And here you have the Zionist idea to come in, and it is documented in the writings and in the sayings of the early Zionists, that they were consciously intending to come in and basically push the indigenous Palestinian population up the way. This was, there are many quotations from early Zionists where it was quite, even right from the founder of Zionism, Theodor Herzl, he writes in his diaries. I haven't got the quotation here, but he writes, "Will spirit I think the expression is, will spirit the penniless population over the border," and speaking about them in such terms. But there are others. You had the very militant, one of the very militant Zionist founders, Jabotinsky, as he was called. He made no bones about it. We have to use force, and we will only be able to have our state by the use of force. And this was a shocking contravention of humanitarian values. It was bound right from the start to cause confrontation, and confrontation causes violence, and violence causes death. And this has been the picture for the last 100 years. From when the early Zionist settlers began to come in, the alarm bells began to ring among the Palestinian population. And of course this confrontation and violence developed. Judaism preaches compassion, preaches consideration for one's fellow man, consideration for his property, consideration for his livelihood, and of course, consideration for his life. Something completely foreign to the Zionist idea. The Zionist idea placed the value of forming their state above the value of human life, whereas Judaism is totally opposed to that approach, as can be seen through thousands of years. The behavior of the Jewish populations in various Jewish communities was always being law-abiding and peace-loving. This is something completely foreign to there. You see from the humanitarian point of view, also a total diametric opposition between Zionism and Judaism. I'd go further, and I would say Zionism, by definition, is sectarian and is racist. It is a blatant form of racism. It cannot be described as anything else. The question arises, so there you, I think one sees quite clearly, both from Jewish belief point of view and from the point of view of values, Jewish religious values, which are shared by other religions humanitarianism, compassion, are two completely different ideologies and are diametrically opposed. The question often arises, though, what is the popularity? How is it that Zionism has become so popular among the Jewish people? There are a number of factors, but I'll just point out one or two things. One very important factor is this. I've said, and this is a historical fact, that the Jewish people have been dispersed around the world for 2,000 years. And the amazing thing is that they've retained their identity. This is miraculous, actually. How do they retain their identity? The central core of the Jewish identity is the Jewish way of life, the Jewish religion, the Torah. That is how they retain their identity. Now, you will see nowadays that many Jews are no longer Orthodox, no longer religious. But I would say that it is probably a demonstrable fact that they only know that they are Jews because of their connection to perhaps their grandparents, great-grandparents at most, who were observant Orthodox Jews. If you go back 600-700 years, there were always sadly Jews who left their religion, and those who left their religion at that time, their descendants, don't know they're Jewish. They don't have their Jewish identity. So the point I'm going to bring out is that in order to retain a Jewish identity, one has to be adhere to the Jewish way of life, the Jewish religion. This wasn't always easy. We grew up. We have grown up in the Jewish way of life, and we love it. That's our life. But it is not easy. It has certain various restrictions, but we don't look at it as restrictions, but in the eyes of the world it may be considered so. And it is not easy. So people who wanted to retain their Jewish identity had to take aboard the responsibility of maintaining the Jewish religion. Zionism came along with a new idea. We'll give you the opportunity of a Jewish, I put quotes, identity without having to keep to Judaism. All you've got to do is to accept our nationalistic idea, the idea of setting up a state in Palestine. Then you will have a Jewish identity, and you can do what you like. You don't have to be an observant Jew. And that was very popular. But of course, what they didn't realize was that it wasn't producing a Jewish identity at all. It was producing a different form of identity, a Zionist identity, an Israeli identity, if you like, but not the genuine Jewish identity. But however, that is what one factor, a very strong factor, which has brought about the popularity of Zionism in today's world, particularly following the Second World War, when there was such a terrible Holocaust which affected the Jewish people at the same time as many millions of other nations were also affected terribly. But there was Jewish people suffered in proportion very, very, very heavily, and there was a terrible refugee problem, and the idea of the refugee problem being solved by going and settling in Palestine had attraction. It had an intrinsic, natural attraction for people after their lives had been shattered by the Holocaust. So it was understandable for them to be attracted to the idea of forming a state in Palestine. Those who really understood what had to be done weren't taken in by that, but many of the sort of the rank and file were attracted, and as generations have gone on, so the old Jewish opposition to Zionism has become, by a large proportion of Jewish people, has become forgotten.